lured him into the movie theaters. He decided that he had to kill my brother. You just never think that that can happen to you. Because of you, I have never had a big brother to grow up with me. And he saw this girl about to get nabbed by this guy who turned out to be Lewis Lent.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Off Air Podcast. I'm Slater.
I'm Marjo.
And a very special guest today, a very brave man.
Kind of a little bit of a heavier episode today as we talk to the brother of Jimmy Bernardo, a local Massachusetts boy who was kidnapped and murdered in the early 90s. But an important episode. And we definitely applaud our guest, Rob, for coming on and sharing his story with us.
Yeah, for the first time in 34 years, feels comfortable in front of the camera talking to you guys about his brother, what happened, and the book that was written just a few years ago called Hidden Demons. He references this book a lot during the podcast. The book is called Hidden Demons, Evil Visits a Small New England Town. If you like the content, guys, like the episode, subscribe, help the channel grow. It's the Off Air Podcast. We appreciate it. Robbie Bernardo.
Hello.
What is happening, man?
Well, lots of stuff.
Bienvenidos.
Bienvenidos, yes. You were on the radio show recently with us, and we were talking about the 35th anniversary of your brother's death, and we were just talking a little bit about how just now, you're sort of comfortable talking about it, like in front of the cameras and stuff.
Yeah, it's something that I, wanted to, talk to the public about and have them see my side of the story, how things progressed and everything happened.
For those of you who are watching on YouTube and Spotify and stuff, this story was a huge deal around here where we taped the show in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Lewis Lent, a convicted serial killer from Pittsfield, abducted and murdered then 12-year-old Jimmy Bernardo in 1990 as part of a series of crimes targeting young boys and girls. Lent worked as a part-time janitor at the Pittsfield Plaza Cinema Center, lured your brother with a small cash offer, and ultimately he was sexually assaulted and killed. Just awful, awful stuff. And I commend you for your bravery to sort of come on and talk about it and stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Not an easy thing to do. And we thank you for sharing your story because, Slater didn't grow up in this area. I did. And I was telling him today when we were talking about this at work, it rocked this community. This is a small community, a safe community. That's why people liked living here. And I was telling Slater around this time, I was young in 90, but I remember the Sarah Ann Wood case, which we'll get into all of it. They were teaching us in classrooms. We were having, once a month, these trainings. These people would come in and tell us what to do. This was a real fear for families across Berkshire County. And obviously your family had to live that nightmare. So,
well, the free range parenting ended on that day.
Yeah.
Because we used to just ride our bikes around and do whatever we wanted, just as long as we were home for dinner. Mm-hmm. And then after dinner, if you didn't have homework, you went out and you had to be home by the time the streetlights came on.
Right.
That was the rule.
Right.
That all ended.
Yeah.
So your brother was working at the local movie theater at what, 12 years old?
Yeah. At the time he was 13. He had just turned 13 on August 13th. Had
he ever mentioned the name Lewis to you? Like there's this guy I know there?
No. But when I was, Chris, I was only 10 years old.
Right.
So when you're that age, you don't really think much about how we're getting into the movies for free.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, Jimmy's gonna get us into movies for free again.
Right.
And we'll see whatever movie we want.
So your family had never heard his name until after the fact.
Nope.
Did he ever tell you about the fact that he liked working at the theater? Or,
No. He didn't really work there much. He just got into the movies for free because Lewis Lent was a groomer. He groomed these kids to get them to earn their trust. And once he earned their trust, that's when he struck.
The the word pedophilia is sort of in culture everywhere nowadays.
Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein files.
Yes. And just, trying to people, just interested in busting up rings and such. Had your parents sort of ever warned you about anything like this before this happened to your brother?
Yeah. I mean, we always talked about, don't talk to strangers and stuff like that, but I don't think nobody really thought anything like this could happen.
Right. And he didn't position himself as a stranger. That's the problem. Is
No,
that
he
he
didn't.
wasn't a stranger to your brother. You know what I mean? This is not some random guy in the street walking up to him.
Right.
To your point, this was
This was somebody that Jimmy knew.
Right.
And when I think back about, those days before that happened, I remember going up behind in the projectors, and Lewis Lent was in there. He was in the projector room, and I was being shown around everything in there, and Lewis Lent was the one that was showing us.
Right. And as a little kid, that's cool. You know what I mean? You're not thinking, does this guy have ulterior motives? You're thinking, wow, this is awesome that I'm getting to, to see all this.
Yeah. So he was grooming kids.
Yeah.
Did you feel any sort of way about him just by like the way he looked or anything? Or?
I just, I thought that he was weird, but I was also, again, I was 10 years old, and I just didn't really, I was like, oh, wow, look at the projectors. That was what I was more interested in is, the cameras and the...
I read his nickname was Weasel.
I don't know. They called him Lou.
Yeah.
Instead of Lewis, they called him Lou.
And you said he wasn't even like on the payroll or something, or he wasn't listed as an employee at the movie theater?
Yeah, he was just a, under the table employee that would come in and fill in to clean up from last night's movies.
Mm-hmm. Probably knowing that it was a place that, kids go to.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you walk, I mean, I know you're only 10, but can you walk us through that night that your brother didn't come home and kind of what ensued in the days following, or at least what you remember?
Yeah, sure. I remember it all very, very clearly. So coming home from school that day, my brother and I, we went down to the cinema center and rode our bikes down there before parents got home, and, played game of pool on the pool table at the coin laundry shop down there. We do this typically on a daily basis. And after that, we went home to go eat. I had homework to finish up. So after dinner, I finished up homework, and my brother went down to the cinema center, and he was going to meet our friend Dan Larry. And Dan Larry, I guess he had to finish mowing the lawn, and he couldn't leave until, his chores were done. So Jimmy was down at the cinema center by himself, playing a game of pool, grabbing soda and waiting. And then that's when Lewis Lent lured him into the movie theaters. So let me just get the water here.
Take your time. Yeah.
So that night, the lights are on the street and my brother's not home yet. And that's very unlikely. That just does not happen because you're in trouble. So we knew something was up. He would at least call.
You and your parents?
Yeah. We knew something was up. He would at least call and say, hey, I'm over here. Mm-hmm. Can you come get me or whatever? That didn't happen. I remember, going into lay down to go to bed to act like, I'm going to get up in the morning and Jimmy's going to be there. Well, we got a couple hours into the night. My mom woke me up. She's like, hey, let's take a ride down. We need to go look for Jimmy. And I remember going down to the cinema center and driving around the outside and just trying to, find him and see if we see anything. And I remember my mom asking me like every fine detail that I can think of. And I just, being 10 years old, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I couldn't find the answer and felt like maybe I needed to know where Jimmy was because we hung out all the time. I was the tag along. So I knew where all the spots were. So we looked around, and then she's like, you know what, let's get you to bed. It's getting, it was close to midnight at that time. And so I went back home, went to bed with this uneasy feeling that I would never see my brother again. And that uneasy feeling came true.
At what point did you guys call the cops?
My parents called the police that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the police just, figured this was just another missing kid.
Right.
There was there was one detective that had an uneasy feeling about, I forgot his name. He's written in this book here, talked about quite a bit.
Yeah.
He went out looking around that next day and just like, there's something not right here. This, kids go missing, but they're at their aunt's house or they're at their friend's house.
Yeah.
They're just
Right.
hiding out for the day or something, and, he didn't see any of that type of evidence. So, so they called immediately that night. And, I remember the next day just getting on a 4-wheeler and searching the woods and paths that we rode our bikes on behind the railroad tracks and Cinema Center. And it was like all day long just looking. The next day, same thing. The next day, same thing. Not having any school for that week because we're looking for my brother. And it just seemed like it was, we're just never going to find him. And
That's got to be so surreal. Dude.
I had to go back to school and I just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Now, is the whole city aware of this at this point?
Right,
Like,
because
this kid is missing.
This
he's
isn't
gone.
like the social
Yeah.
media age where everybody knows
Right.
in 2 hours.
Right,
This
this is
is word of
90.
mouth. This is spreading word of mouth. But people knew instantly.
Everybody knew it was on the news.
Oh, wow.
So basically, everybody's looking for him.
We had Albany news stations at the door every day. They're camping outside my house. I can't open the shade. They're right there.
Which is just another layer to the torture your family's dealing with. You know what I mean? You guys are still.
They were pretty bad. The news media outlets. They were bad. Like they're trying to find anything, and neighbors talking and saying stuff that's not true, and they would amplify it. And then next thing you know, they're having to rule my parents out.
Right. Right.
And of course, that's what investigators have to do anyway.
Yeah.
But still, I mean,
That
that's,
sucks.
yeah.
And then, as a kid, having to go back to school, not knowing where my brother is. And, for that month leading up to where they found his body, kids can be cruel and say things that, they wouldn't mean to say if they knew what they were saying.
Of
Right.
course.
And
Right.
I had to deal with a lot of that with, kids saying things that were very hurtful, and I can't remember some of those things, but I knew I was.
You remember the way they made you feel, though.
I know, and I could never catch them because I was a pudgy boy, so so they never were taken care of, so to speak, you know. But
When he was missing, or after okay,
when and after, I had kids saying that my dad killed my brother.
yeah, kids say the
horrible.
most
So,
fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Kids are just mean. They don't know
They
what
don't
they're
understand
saying.
the
They don't
They don't know what they're doing.
They don't know, and
They just
it's
talk shit. It's
down the
awful.
road. One of those kids, years down the road, actually saw me and apologized.
Wow.
Good on
so
them. Yeah.
that made me feel good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we as kids, they say things that they shouldn't say, and probably just to get attention or something.
Yeah. So it was a month from the night he went missing until they found his body.
Yeah. So the graphic, the graphic nature of how he was taken is just Lewis Lent's whole confession to this. I had to read it again earlier. Now, of course, he said this. He didn't read it aloud in court, but somebody else did. His lawyer read the confession out loud, and gosh, just reading it, earlier today, kind of brought me back to that room.
Sure.
And oh God, it's tough. It hangs with you even 35 years later.
Oh, absolutely. That's why we appreciate your bravery coming here, because time doesn't make that any easier. You just learn to live with it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Now, all this time's going by. Are you guys assuming the worst at this point? Like, what are your parents realistically telling their 10-year-old other son? That his brother most likely is not coming back, or like what?
We had to have that conversation. And 10-year-old telling a 10-year-old that, chances are that we won't see Jimmy again. And, Gosh, that was really hard to hear that. It's hard to hear it right now. Kind of tearing up right now.
Yeah.
How the confession from Lewis Lent came after the body was found, or he confessed?
So, so the whole story behind them capturing Lewis Lent is a thing of just weird how everything kind of, the world fits together. Okay. So, my parents' friend of the family, he was sitting at the intersection of Park Square, and he took a turn and looked back in his mirror, and he saw this girl about to get nabbed by this guy who turned out to be Lewis Lent. And the girl was Rebecca Savarese.
Yes.
So Rebecca Savarese did everything that she should have done because the DARE program taught her to. Okay. The DARE program wasn't just about drugs. It was about, hey, don't talk to strangers. Make sure this is what you do when something like this happens. Because when Jimmy was taken from this community, the community came together and said, what do we do to stop this from happening again? Okay. Rebecca Savarese stopped that from happening again. Okay. My friend Russell Davis, he got a partial license plate of the van, tried to chase him, and ended up losing. He lost Russell, but the police were then combing the area for this van and ended up catching him that day.
Wow. So she had faked. She had faked an asthma attack?
Yeah, she faked having an asthma attack, and she said she needed to just sit down. And then as she went to go sit down, she got her backpack loose and just started running.
That's what I was telling Slater earlier today. I said I remember vividly somebody like wriggling. And again, and this is still 1990.
This was 94. This was 93 no, I'm sorry, it was 94.
This says January 94. All right, so to back up for a second, so when the police are investigating your brother's disappearance, did they question anybody at the theater? I'm sure they did.
Oh, yeah, they questioned every single employee in that entire plaza. No.
Really?
So Lewis Lent was originally questioned that night when Jimmy disappeared, okay, because he was seen down at the Cinema Center, and they knew that he was a janitor there. They questioned him that time, but then they did not think anything of it, and all the employees' names for that entire plaza were to be released. His name was not one of the ones released. The Cinema Center did not think anything of releasing names of partial employees and ones that worked under the table like he was doing. So,
well, because they're probably trying to save their own. And I shouldn't say that.
I think that probably was part of it. Right. And I think I could say this now, that we sued the Cinema Center for that, and we put them out of business.
Gotcha.
Okay, we weren't looking for a money payout.
No, this was...
Okay, that's not what this was about.
You had information that you weren't giving.
They did not disclose his name, and very well could have ended the search for Jimmy a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I don't think anybody would fault your family for doing that.
Exactly.
I think everybody would do the same thing.
So a month later, on November 20th, 1990, they find your brother, and the case goes cold for the next 3 years. They still don't know. How is that, and then Becky Savarese, they see Lent trying to abduct her, or however that transpired in early 1994. In the 3 years the case goes cold, what's the vibe in the family? Just grief plus life is normal? Like, what happened? Your parents still go to work every day?
Somehow you have to find normalcy. Right. And that's very difficult to do, especially for a 10-year-old. I did not go anywhere. I did not do anything. I stayed at home and watched TV and ate potato chips and did not go out. I had like one friend. Thank God I had at least one friend, because like I didn't do anything. I got to a point where my mom was like, that's it, you're coming out. And it was like a Saturday morning, and I wasn't even dressed. She's like, get dressed now. We're going out this door. I'm not telling you where you're going, but you're going. And she brought me to the bowling alley. And I fell in love with bowling.
Yeah.
So I always tell people that bowling saved my life because it got me out of the house and it got me talking to other kids again. You know, because I lost trust.
Yeah.
I didn't trust anybody.
So was it a depression that was keeping you in the house? Was it fear? And you know, at 10 years old, you probably don't even know how to process those emotions or put those into words.
Massive amounts of depression.
Yeah.
I still deal with it today.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I probably hit a little bit of a low today. It wasn't some of the lows that I've had in the past.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, you know, it definitely depression and anxiety and trust. I have a lot of trust issues with people.
Yeah. Understandably so.
Yeah.
So now, a year later, it's October 1991, and you're 11, you're still in school, and you're still dealing with that. Oh my God, that's the kid that his brother
Yeah. That's how
disappeared and was killed.
And that's when somebody would say something that they shouldn't have said. Yeah. You know, and I think that, you know, that kind of it kind of slowed down as I got older because, you know, kids get older, they realize, you know, you shouldn't be saying something like that.
Did teachers treat you any differently?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more.
I was probably given a little bit of leeway on things, I would think.
Yeah.
As you probably should have been. I mean, you know.
I mean, my schoolwork was never bad unless it was English. You know, so I didn't really have to work too hard for my schoolwork.
So in the meantime, Lewis Lent, no one's been arrested in this case.
Right.
It's become a cold case. Your family's trying to adjust to whatever their new normal is. Now, the Sarah Ann Wood abduction happened in the summer of 1993.
Yes.
So this is before, obviously, Lewis Lent had been arrested. Did your family think there was a connection, or did it just reopen that wound? Like, what was that when that made the headlines?
It did both. It reopened the wound, and it definitely made us feel like there was a connection. You know, this does not happen in our area, nonetheless, twice.
But this was a little bit outside of
but
this was in New York
still,
area. Yes, yeah.
Even
Of course,
still,
yeah.
this is
Still
Ithaca,
close.
New York.
Yeah.
If you look at Ithaca, New York, the area is it's like wooded. There's not much civilization. Okay, and if you read in the book that about what Lewis Lent was looking for, he drove through those areas because there was less people looking for someone like him. Okay, everybody left their doors unlocked. You know, keys are hanging on the wall.
Yeah, it was a calculated decision for him to.
Yeah,
to
he literally would
area.
drive 8 hours and find these locations and find a girl that he could scope out and find out, and he would figure out exact timing of where she was every single part of the day. He had notes written down on where these girls were.
Today's episode of Off Air with Slater and Marjo is brought to you by Berkshire Adventures. Berkshire Adventure Tours, e-bike tours, picturesque picnics, private e-bike rides, Cloud9 seats, hidden gems, and scenic picnics. I did one of these the other day. Can't recommend it enough. Great local guide here in the Berkshires. So BerkshireAdventureTours.com. You can find them on social media.
Now, we fast forward to January 1994. A young Pittsfield girl. Now we're back to Pittsfield, Mass. Again, where you're from, and your brother, obviously. And Lewis goes to abduct a young girl again. She gets out, fakes an asthma attack, gets out. The gentleman you mentioned too recognized the license plate, sort of sees this going on. They catch him. He admits to everything.
Yeah.
Your brother. Now,
he did it willingly.
Willingly comes out and says, "You got me," which is even more screwed up.
Because you're almost like
he was referring to a third person inside him, like he had multiple personalities. He had this devil inside him that was making him do this stuff, and he would black out. He was very smart. Okay, that's what the police determined. This guy was smarter than what he was leading on to being.
That's probably true. Yes. No. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you find out it's him, do you go, "Holy shit, that's the guy from the movie theater"?
No, because I was 10 years old. I wouldn't even recognize his face at that point in time.
So
That's
you
4
heard
years later,
So you heard
you know?
you and your family heard the name. It didn't.
No.
the name wasn't familiar
No,
to you
it
at
wasn't
that point.
familiar to
Gotcha.
us, no.
Which makes
he
makes
wasn't-
sense.
he
It would
wasn't
have
familiar
only
at
been
all to
familiar
us.
to your brother.
Right. Lewis was familiar to a lot of other people, but we didn't know who he was at all.
Okay. And then at what point did you find out that this was the guy who worked at the Cinema Center? Shortly after
It was shortly after, yeah. Yeah. Once they started talking about how he worked at the Cinema Center, things kind of was like, holy shit.
At any point after Sarah Ann Wood's disappearance to the arrest of Lewis Lent, or even afterwards, did your family ever have contact with Sarah Ann Wood's family? Was it that kind of thing or no?
No.
Okay.
No, we did not. I think that was probably a good thing. I think we were advised not to. And, you know, honestly, if some other family was to contact us like that, we probably would feel the same way. Like maybe we don't want to talk to them.
Sure.
You know, so, you know, that's a tough time for them. They, you know, I mean, God, I feel for them still. They still haven't found her body, and they're never going to.
Wow.
Yeah, so Lewis Lent, now 73 years old, is in jail or whatever for life, as he should be. I mean, he should be.
Yeah. He doesn't deserve to be alive.
He does not, no.
And you know, if you don't mind, I want to read my my victim's impact statement, which is in this book, and since it's seen the light of day.
Just preface this story, though.
So when I wrote this victim's impact statement, my parents and I both wrote these statements, and we were guaranteed that they would never see the light of day, and we were guaranteed by the judge that it would never see the light of day. Well, before David Capeless left office,
Who was a former district attorney?
who was
the former district attorney in
who was
Berkshire
also
County.
Berkshire County, Massachusetts.
and he was also one of the district attorneys that prosecuted this case alongside Jerry Downing. Okay. We were told it would never see the light of day. It would only see the lawyers, the prosecutors, the judge, and it's directed to Lewis Lent. Okay.
So who's asking you to write this letter to Lewis?
So I was asked if I wanted to write a letter or not,
Gotcha.
and I didn't need to, but I felt like I wanted to.
I think in most cases when there's a sentencing that has a case of this magnitude or has had this kind of impact on people's lives, they usually offer the families and the victims' families
So
a chance
typically they have these victims' impact statements, and they're read in the courtroom
Yes.
during the sentencing
Yes.
to help enforce a stricter sentencing.
Yes.
We didn't need to read these in court because we knew he was going to get life in prison. So we didn't want them to be read in court, and we didn't want the public to know them. But I'm gonna read it to you now, because this woman, Marjorie Metzger,
Yep.
she
authored
got
this book.
all of this information through a release of information from David Capeless. David Capeless released 2 gigantic boxes of evidence to Marjorie to write a book. So I'm going to read my victim's impact statement, so you can kind of feel like you could put yourself in my shoes on this. Okay, so Mr. Lent. Well, let me put my reading glasses on here first. Hold on a second here. These glasses are
Take
not the
your time.
ones that I
Take your time.
Is this for effect or no?
maybe. I'm going to get these are the good ones.
The readers.
Okay. So, Mr. Lent, on October 22nd, 1990, it was like any other day. My brother and I, like always, hung out together. Me, like always, being the tag along. It was our supper time, and my brother, after finished eating, was planning on going down to the Cinema Center to meet a friend and hang out. He asked me if I wanted to go with him, and I said no because I had some homework to finish. Well, he finished eating and left. He left without me being able to say goodbye. I didn't even know that would be the last time I would ever see him again. That was the last time. And the last second that I ever spent with my brother, and I will remember it for the rest of my life. You do not even know how it feels to, in 1 minute, have a brother, to another minute, not even know where he is. If you only knew what it was like, you could see the pain that my whole family and I have gone through. You would want to relive those couple of minutes or hours in which you made a decision to what you did and change time. Because of you, I have never had a big brother to grow up with me and make sure that I don't get into trouble. I will never know what it's like to have an older brother graduate from high school. For the last 5.5 years, I have lived with pain. I have also had to live with people saying bad things about my family that aren't true. During this time, people thought that Jimmy ran away, but really, he didn't. He was going to have fun with his friend, not even knowing what could happen. Because of you, my families and my life have been a living hell. It seems today that parents can't even let their children run and play in the backyard, let alone down at the movies, because they have to think mostly about people like you doing something to their children like you did to my brother. My brother had almost everything going for him. He had many friends in school. He was popular. He had a great personality and a great mind. He may not have been the greatest at school, but to me, he was the smartest friend I knew. My brother and I had everything going for us. Great parents, a good life, and you came along and took that away from him, me and my family. My brother can finally rest in peace in heaven, but you have to live in jail for the rest of your life and live in fear. I hope that my letter has showed you how I feel towards you and towards my brother. I hope that you have to live with this letter being in your mind every time you look in the mirror. I hope that your life is hard as it possibly can be, because you still don't even deserve to live a life. But that would be easy. That would be the easy way out of life. You have to rot in jail and live with it for the rest of your life.
Wow. I mean, at 15 years old, writing that is, I'm sure, was, difficult for you to do.
Right. This is 1995, 1996, or whatever it is.
That was 1994. I wrote that.
So the letters did not get read in the courtroom, but they were read.
I'm sorry, wait a minute. That was during the trial, so that was 95 when he was convicted. Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Get my dates mixed up because it's been so long.
Yeah.
So the book, you've mentioned the book, a few times, obviously, during the podcast. Says here, there's a true crime book that covers the story of Lewis Lent and Jimmy Bernardo in detail. Hidden Demons. Evil Visits a Small New England Town by Marjorie B. Metzger. This was published in 2023. Now, this woman is local, huh? This author is local?
Yeah, she lives right down the street from my parents.
All right. So at what point do you realize the book is being written? Or do you not know until it's published?
I didn't even know. I didn't know until it was published.
Did your parents know?
Nope.
So she writes a book about your brother and
never even contacts you
and
guys.
never contacts the family.
Not until after.
Well, all right. So tell what.
My dad was out for his normal stroll,
Yeah.
walking around, and she approached him while he was walking to let him know.
To let him know that she had written this book?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
What did she say?
I don't know exactly what she said, but my dad was very distraught about it.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, what did she expect his reaction to be?
I have no clue.
And if you're really, listen, I don't know the circumstances surrounding it, but I'm thinking if I'm an author and I want to share this tragedy, this thing that this rocked your family and this community, I'm going to reach out to the folks involved.
Yeah. And say, listen, with all due respect.
Right. Or do you want to participate?
yes,
I mean, would you like to be heard in this story?
Honestly,
wishes.
if she had, you would have never heard what I just read to you. Okay? Because that would not have been in the book. Because I would have told her, don't you put that in the book. Because I've had other authors approach me. There was another book that was written, but there was a lot of stuff that was wrong, that wasn't correctly fact-checked. Okay? And she actually references that person in this novel.
So when you find out that your impact statement is in there, well, first of all, how did you find out it was in there?
So I was, Russ Davis called me.
The guy who saw the young woman almost get abducted, who got the license plate number?
So I hang out with Russ Davis.
Okay. Yeah.
It's been a while. Russ, if you're hearing this, we need to have a beer. He likes craft beer like I do. And, I hang out with Russ, and his wife and Russ have been friends with my parents since high school.
So they found out about the book.
Right. So Russ found out about the book and called me. But yeah, so I'm friends with Russell now. You know, we hang out, but my parents were friends with Russ and his wife when they were in high school. So when the weird thing about Russell seeing this happen in front of him and catching that license plate and then being like, hey, that was me that got that license plate number. My parents are like, holy crap. Like I said, it's weird how the world is connected.
Yeah. So he tells you that the impact statement's in the book.
Yep.
And then what do you say? Did you run out and buy the book?
There was a lot of cussing. There was a lot of cussing involved. And then I went and borrowed the book from him because I did not want to buy the book, even though I just purchased it today.
Yeah.
And when I read my victim's impact statement, like I just did, it really put me back into the courtroom. And, you know, and then I read Lent's confession in the book, and I broke down. And then I went through all of the stages of, you know, emotions all over again, like I was a kid. You know, some anger. You know, I tossed my bathroom. I haven't done anything like that remotely in 30 years. Yeah. So,
besides your father, have you or your mother or anybody else spoken to the author of this book?
No. And honestly, I didn't even tell my parents I was doing this today. So,
how do you think they would feel?
I think I think they'll be okay with what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's your platform to say whatever you want, speak your truth when you know, this book did not afford you guys that.
Right. And they, you know, when I told them about the victim's impact statements being in there, my parents were very upset.
Yeah.
Very
especially
upset.
because you had been told, it gave you guys kind of the freedom to be vulnerable and say what you really wanted to say and not have it be out there for public comment. You know, it's a very traumatic thing that only you and your family can understand. Right. And then to have that, you know, put out there is really
the
unfortunate.
Thing that kills me is like when you're an author and you're writing a true crime story, one of the things you should be doing is, you know, interviewing as many people as possible.
Yeah, I don't know why she wouldn't have wanted to reach out to you guys unless
we're like the
she
main
thought,
characters in all of this. So why wouldn't you want to reach out to the people that it's impacted by?
And as a reader,
she's right down the street from my parents.
As a reader, I would want to know like what I would want to hear it firsthand from the family. So.
Well, I tell you, I went and I protested this book at Barnes and Noble, and I put it out on social media that I was going to protest, and then like within 2 hours, I had police officers at my door. And they're like, "Hey, we're here out of, you know, we do this
abundance of caution,
right? We
whatever.
do this with everybody that's planning a protest. We just want to let you know these are the things you can't do." And I'm like, "Hey, listen, guys, I'm just going down there, and I'm going to be very quiet and silently protest this." And they're like, "Okay." We will be showing up there. I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's fine. So, Russ Davis had gone down there with me, to, you know, kind of help me make it through that session. And, so some of the good that came out of that, you know, sometimes I try to look at what's good that came out of this. Okay. There was a lot of people there that had been impacted by what happened, and I didn't really realize it. Listening to people's stories and how they're connected to all of this. And then really thinking about when the day that Lewis Lent was arrested, we were going through all of that Simon's Rock college shooting. I don't remember if you remember that.
I remember. I read about it. I wasn't living.
Yeah, there was a shooting at a local, and this was not when these things were happening every day, or at least they weren't.
This was pre-Columbine.
This was this was
like early.
This was a very small.
This was 1994, 1993 is when it happened, and they were during that the time that Lewis Lent was arrested. They were going through the whole trial of the Simon's Rock shooter. Okay. So this was like one of the first mass casualty events at a college across the nation.
Again, a very small college in a very small area in Berkshire County, Massachusetts.
So, and then also on the same exact day that Lewis Lent was arrested, there was a guy hiding out in the girls' room at the YMCA and touching himself and showing himself. And one of the
90s were wild.
So one of the women I can't remember her name. So she's the daughter of one of the police lieutenants that was interviewing Lewis Lent. She saw this happen and chased him with her car, and they caught him.
Wow.
So now they're thinking they got these two people here, and they're trying to figure out how is either one of them connected to my brother. So it was definitely a weird day, all this stuff that was happening on that one day in January 1994.
Did you read the impact statement in the courtroom?
No, I did not. Because
have you ever been face to face with Lewis?
Only time I saw him was at the courtroom.
For
How
his sentencing.
was that?
That was so I was there throughout the whole trial, but it wasn't that long because he confessed. He pled guilty and confessed. So basically, that day we were brought into the DA's office, the actual office, and the DA was like, "Hey, listen, we're going to end this today." And my parents and I were like, "What?" And they were like, "Well, he's going to confess. He's confessing, and he wants to move on." And nobody in my family knew. We were just finding out about this. And so I sat in that courtroom and listened to his confession, and it was very graphic. He was planning. He was going to rape my brother. He didn't, because it was his first boy that he took. And he decided that he had to kill my brother. And no matter how much my brother pleaded, he made him feel like he wasn't going to do anything to him. And he brought him out to a wooded area and put a rope around his neck and put his face to the ground and killed him.
It's horrible.
That's brutal, Robbie.
Yeah. So reading that today kind of threw me through a loop again. Because again,
puts you right back in that.
It does. It puts me as a 10-year-old
I totally understand.
in that courtroom. I'm sorry, as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, however old when that happened, when he was in the courtroom. But I'm like, it definitely, it's weird how that puts me back in that place, like instantly. Like the vision just pops right in my head again. And it just never leaves. It just, I'll wake up now, even years later on, to have a nightmare about it.
Yeah.
What was the feeling when you saw him in person?
Oh gosh, if I was one of those fathers that jumped over the stand to strangle him, that would have been me.
Yeah. Definitely.
Do you remember your parents' reactions to anything? Do you remember looks on their faces or conversations you had afterwards or anything like that?
It's kind of tough to remember a lot of little details and stuff like that. My parents and I were very close, and it's amazing that they're still together, honestly.
That can splinter a marriage.
When you lose a child, especially
when you
to
lose
this.
a child under normal, quote unquote, circumstances, it's horrible for people, but let alone.
So I got to say that my dad has been just the best at holding us together. He, the first Christmas that my brother was gone, he was working countless hours to make sure that I had everything that I wanted on that Christmas list. It was like I had a Christmas list and everything on it. It was underneath the Christmas tree that year, which made me feel guilty that all my friends weren't getting any of these toys. So I had to invite friends over. Oh, I got the games. Come on, let's go play. But it also made me feel guilty that, I'm getting all this stuff and my brother's not here to play these games with me. Yeah. So.
Has Jimmy ever made his presence known in the house? Has your mother or father ever said, I can feel him here? I don't know if they're religious or spiritual people. I just don't know if that's has ever come up.
My mom is very religious. We don't really go to church much anymore. I don't really practice my faith, but I have a cross around my neck that has Jimmy's birthday and name on it. But I do believe that he's there looking over. And, I keep my pegs down on my motorcycle when I'm riding. And I always say Jimmy's on the back of my bike with me. And I got my front fender painted with his portrait on there. And it didn't matter how much it cost. I didn't care. The money didn't matter. So I feel like he's there with me. He's just standing there making sure that I'm doing okay.
Yeah, so you started Jimmy's Ride when?
30 years ago.
Yeah. So this is a motorcycle ride.
So you were like 20 years old when you started Jimmy's Ride? Or am I doing the math wrong?
Your math is a little bit off.
Okay, sorry.
I was 15.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So, I'm 45.
Yes. Okay. I was thinking.
I'm old now.
Yeah. Okay. I was listen.
No, we actually had started the Jimmy's Ride a couple years after we started a walk and road race. So that's how Kids Place was formed, was around the Jimmy's Walk and Road Race, and then Jimmy's Ride. Shortly after the Jimmy's Ride started, they actually bought the building on Wendell Ave and started renovating it.
Yeah, which is now the Berkshire County Kids Place, which is a place that families whose children are victims of assaults and crimes can go, and it's really a support system for them in a way to kind of reduce the trauma and the impact on the children, the child victims of these crimes.
It's Massachusetts' first advocacy center.
Yeah.
And after that center was built, any further children advocacy centers that were built in Massachusetts were modeled after the Berkshire County Kids Place. So if you want to think of anything that is good that has come out of this, I mentioned that earlier, like sometimes we got to think about what good has come out of this. First and foremost is we're now aware that these creeps and pedophiles are out there. We have one as our president. Okay. We need to be aware that these guys are out there and women that are out there, and we need to keep our children as safe as possible. Right. So that's the first thing I think is we've become more aware of our surroundings. Right. Second thing is that we've built an advocacy center that has helped countless children go through the trauma only once. So before the Kids Place existed, if a child was raped, let's just put that case out there. This child was raped. So now they get interviewed at the police station. They get interviewed by the DA. They get interviewed by the judge. All these interviews, then they have to go to court. So 4 times they've relived this pain that they've had to go through and experience.
Which is hard for anyone, let alone a child.
Yeah.
Now they're one time. That's all.
In a
controlled
comfortable
setting.
environment. I mean, as comfortable as it can be.
It's in a controlled setting where you have professional people that are trained to deal with these situations and circumstances. And they sit on the one side of a one-way mirror. And on the other side is a recording camera, the DA, the judge, the arresting officers, anybody that needs to be in that room, so that that video can be used as evidence in the courtroom, and that child only has to relive that, just that one more time in that room.
Yeah.
They don't have to go to court.
Yeah. It's an amazing
Yeah,
organization.
it is. Right. Berkshire County Kids Places. Yeah, no, totally.
And the fact that you, all these years later, continue to be such a big supporter of theirs is really commendable, Rob. I know this is such a shitty situation, doesn't even begin to cover it. But the fact that you're helping out other families who are, dealing, you should feel really good about that. I hope it brings you some kind of...
I do feel good about it, but I always feel like we could do more.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know. And I think Jimmy's memory is fading a little bit.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I do.
Well, yeah, I was gonna wrap with that question, right? So it's been 35 years. The sort of any allure that comes with that type of story sort of it fades.
Yeah.
And
35 years is a long time.
it's a long time.
But it probably doesn't feel that way to you.
No,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
feels like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Generations come and go, and classes come and go, and
You just never feel like you just never think that can happen to you, right? And then when it does, you don't know what to do. You know, how do you act? How do you feel? And sometimes, I'm sitting here talking about this stuff, and I'm not getting a teary eye because I got my tears out earlier.
Yeah.
And I get asked that all the time. How are we even able to talk about this?
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, for what it's worth, man, you look great.
I appreciate
And remember,
that.
You really do,
anytime-
dude. I mean, you look well, you look healthy.
Yeah, yeah. And anytime you do share your story and your family's story, it does help people. You know,
Yeah,
and
I
it does
hope
keep
so.
his memory
Yeah,
alive, and it does help the
absolutely.
children's place. I mean, it's not in vain that you know, every time somebody listens to this podcast or you come on the radio show or whatever, you're helping keep his memory alive and helping other families and kids. So,
I hope so.
yeah,
I hope so.
yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Thank you very
Bernardo,
much.
everybody.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.